Hello and welcome to Tap and Sack's Beginner's Learning Guide to Magic the Gathering. For this video, we'll be covering the beginning phases of each player's turn so that you know what to do when you play your game of Magic. So we'll be covering the Untap step, the Upkeep step, and then lastly the Draw step in this video. We've tuned our deck to include lots of Upkeep triggers. So one, for example, is Stormfist Crusader, where it says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. So as we play along, we'll explain the upkeep triggers and what that means. Basically, the upkeep step is the time where you have to pay certain costs or trigger some abilities, and that could either be good or bad for you depending on the card. So let's get going. Opponent goes first. So as you saw earlier at the start of our turn, we untapped, but there was nothing to untap, and during our upkeep there was also nothing to trigger, and lastly we drew a swarm. And now we will play it and pass the turn. Opponent casts a priest. So similarly, we passed the untap phase, the upkeep, and the draw. We drew a Dreadhorde Invasion, which has an upkeep trigger. It says that at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life and amass 1. So amass means to put a +1/+1 counter on an army token you control, and if you don't have a token, you create one. But we'll go with something simpler. We will cast Stormfist Crusader, which says at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card and loses 1 life. So after we cast this and after the opponent's turn, in our next upkeep, we will draw an additional card and you will see that happen. It's the opponent's turn now, so we'll just let him do his thing. Cast an Angel of Vitality and it passes. So at the beginning of your upkeep, we drew a card, and now we draw another card for our usual draw step. Alright, I'm gonna cast a Relic Robber. We'll see if he blocks. So Relic Robber creates these tokens which deals 1 damage to the opponent during the opponent's upkeep. So earlier Stormfist Crusader's trigger, upkeep triggered, and we drew an extra card. Each player draws an extra card, and we lose 1 life. So to demonstrate more about upkeep triggers, we're going to cast Dreadhorde Invasion. So in our next upkeep, we will lose 1 life and amass 1. And we're also going to cast Fireblade Artist. So at the beginning of our upkeep, we may choose to sacrifice a creature, and if we do, it deals 2 damage to a target opponent. Okay, so we'll attack and give him the option of blocking with his Hallowed Priest. So it's currently the opponent's turn, and as you can see from here, he is in his main phase, and once you go to the end, that's his end step. So we have two triggers on the upkeep. One is from the Stormfist Crusader and the other is from the Dreadhorde Invasion. And as you can see, we created one token due to the invasion trigger. So I'll cast another Crusader. And also cast a Fervent Champion. And we'll just attack with the Crusader. Okay, so we're gonna cast Rotting Regisaur, which is a 7/6 creature, but the downside is that in our upkeep we have to discard a card. So that's the thing about upkeep abilities. It could work against you in this case, or it could work for you, as in the case of the Relic Robbers token. Okay, we're gonna attack with... So as you can see, we have 3 upkeep triggers. And the first one is Rotting Regisaur's trigger, and we have to choose to discard a card. So we're gonna go with the Mountain, we're gonna discard it. And then the other triggers will happen. We draw a card from Crusader, and Invasion triggers. We get a +1/+1 counter on the zombie token. So we actually lost that match because I wasn't paying attention to our life total and we got killed in the backswing. But I hope you understand how upkeep triggers happen. They happen right after our untap phase. The upkeep phase happens right after untapping and just before the draw step. So the 3 steps of untap, upkeep and draw will form the beginning phase of your turn. Well, thanks for watching, and do check out our other videos on the learning guide where you can learn more about the main phases, the combat phase, and as well as combat tricks. Please subscribe if you like our videos. Thanks and see you around.